where slams sit in the poetry world and people's views, I think most people are generally quite conflicted. Like the ethos of most slams that I've been to is the point is not the point, the point. The point is not the point's the poetry. It's kind of like, it's fun to do, people enjoy doing them, people enjoy attending them, but then there's also that horrible conflict of, oh God, these people have just bared their souls and they've said things that really mean a lot to them. And in a competition context, if you lose that, then that can really, I think that can damage people's confidence. And you have to have a certain kind of resilience and not take it personally, and not think you didn't win because you're not good enough. It's just because in a slam context, different things work. You have different judges, different people in the audience. So I think generally people are quite conflicted. They're fun, but it also seems in a way quite savage to judge someone's soul on stage and crown a winner and someone else not a winner.
I think they're a good middle ground. I think open mic nights are fantastic, but they're particularly fantastic for people who are coming into poetry. It's a good place where there's no judgment. There's no one's going to boo you at an open mic. I mean, no one's going to boo you anywhere, but no, open mics are really supportive, really lovely. And I think slams for people who go, I quite like this poetry business. Let's see if I'm as good as I think I am. And I think it's a good way, particularly for performance poets who don't have a way really of publishing. Poetry in print uses publishing as a metric for how good you are as a poet. And performance doesn't have that. You can be, oh, I've open mic'd here, here and here, and it open mic to open mics doesn't mean anything. I think slams is a good way of being. It's flawed, it's really flawed, but it's a good way of saying, this is how I am as a poet, this is what people think of me as a poet.
If you want to just relax with a nice cool beverage, then open mic nights are just a pleasant place to go. Feature sets as well, if you want to go and see a very specific poet, like Dan Simpson show, the Harry and Chris show, stuff like that, then it's a pleasant night out. But slam poetry it's got, as I said before, it's got that excitement that you don't necessarily get from other mediums.
I think slam poetry, by its nature, draws crowds and has a nice gimmick associated with it. Do you know what I mean? It brings a lot of people in. Whereas open mic nights can be a little bit more experimental and bring a bit more diversity and plurality to the scene.
Unfortunately, many of the open mic nights which I go to, and I go to a lot of them, the only people there are people who are themselves going to read. There are very, very few people who are from the general public going to them. And so they tend to be quite closed communities. And I'm not sure that's good either for poetry or for developing things, which the slams do.
It's a place where you can try out new stuff and then be rewarded for it a little bit more than, because if you're an open mic night and you do a new and interesting form of poetry, you might get a nice little round of applause. You do a slam, you've got people going, yeah, poet, or whatever. Or that might just be me, I don't know.
I am not a slam poet! So, I'm not the type to shout words down a mic. I don't hitchhike onto different trends or view things through a pessimistic lens, and I've never been on the BBC, and I don't have a Facebook page for poetry. Am I a slam poet then? If all you feel is a gentle nudge, is it enough for me to stand in front of you with the sole purpose of alleviating my bitter grudge? Would you like me to put on a persona when the only reason I'm here is for self-expression? I cannot put my problems into a box. I am not the cure. I am a dose of smallpox forgotten in history. But even writing what I feel seems rubbish to me.
Across all of the types of events you can have in the poetry scene, so open mics, one-man shows, features, discussion events, slams serve a really important purpose because they're kind of like the most high intensity and the most vibrant thing that you can have, and there's a lot of good reason to have slams, and they still need to exist, but they shouldn't be the first and foremost way that people get into poetry. They're one way people can get into poetry, but not everybody is looking for that. Not everyone is looking for 3 minutes of poetry. Some people are looking to engage in like a longer form, or people are looking to engage in a more serious thing, or people are looking to, have an idea presented to them in a different way.
I think poetry slams, they're great, especially for up-and-comers. They're a great way of making that work accessible, because anyone can enter a slam. So it's a good way of saying, this is a democratic, accessible art form. Try your luck. I think that, I would say that they're a good kind of conduit into the scene in that sense. They're a great way for people to be introduced into poetry. But I would never say that we should consider them the be-all and end-all of the spoken word scene.
So slams are important, but they need to be part of a group of events as opposed to just the only way or the foremost way that people get involved in poetry.
They're a great part of it, they're an important part of it, but just like any competitive element of any artistic scene, you have to see what else is out there. So I especially encouraging audiences, I would say, don't just go to slams. If you went to a slam and you enjoyed it, go check out that person's solo show. Go find that feature online and see what else they're doing.
I like the idea that they're just another part of the collage, that we, have open mic nights like Poetry Unplugged or Jaw Dance, that anyone can get up and do their 3-5 minutes, and people can go up to them afterwards and say, oh, that was really good poem, I really enjoyed that, and that can be their validation. And then we can have nights like Hammer and Tongue or Farrago, and they can, you can get that same source of validation of someone coming up and being like, I really enjoyed your poem, and then also people can get points and whatever. And then we have, just conventional poetry readings where you just have booked acts, whatever. It's all part of a bigger landscape, and that fits in just as another part of it.
I think the whole poetry scene, whichever city you may be in, is sort of connected to itself and to each other in one way or another, because you get, obviously some people are more likely to go to certain events than others, but I don't think there is poets that only do poetry slams or will only write poems in order to win at poetry slams. And so you get people trying their poetry out for the first time at open mics, and then maybe when they feel more confident, they move on to slams, or vice versa, and then you have people who go to open mics and slams to promote their one-man shows, and it's all connected to each other. I don't think they're distinct types of events in that sense.
You don't listen to podcasts? You should listen to podcasts. You can download them to your smartphone. How much storage do you have on your smartphone? You should have more than that. You should organise your phone better. Don't store music. That's what's taking up the space. You should stream. Streaming takes up no space. Do you read articles? You should. On your smartphone or your tablet. Do you have a tablet? Buy a tablet. One with storage. Download some productivity apps. And some podcasts. Listen to some podcasts on your tablet. Do you write every day? You should. In your notebook or on your laptop, and you could save what you write in folders, and the folders could be labelled and organised, and you could write about what you read in the articles. Then it will be relevant.
You go to certain nights for certain things. If you want to see sort of new people who are maybe not so refined, you will obviously go to an open mic. If you want to see someone that you know is definitely an established and very good poet, you'll go to a feature night. And if you just kind of want to listen to a lot of poets, because obviously slams do bring out a lot of poets and a lot of diversity and a lot of different subject matter and stylistic difference, then I would say go for a slam. So I think they definitely have a place.
I think they're a nice part of the poetry scene. I think it sits alongside lots of different nights. I think you get poets at slams, at open mics and at feature nights, and it all merges. For me anyway, that's how I've managed to attend so many slams, because people I know are running them or people I know are competing in them. So yeah, I think it fits in nicely. I think there's a place for slam.
I think you have poetry slams that are more like open mic. Like Farrago is really so open and so much like, doesn't matter if you're any good, doesn't matter if you're, you know, if you've won things or if you haven't, if you've ever done this before, don't care, get on stage, have some chocolate, it's amazing. So there's those slams that are kind of that end, and there are slams that are a lot more high powered and a lot less like open mic for more kind of, you know, you have to be really good to get into the slam in the first place kind of thing. But they are inevitably a big part of the scene.
Open mic nights and other forms of, I suppose, exhibitions of poetry have fed quite naturally and quite readily into a slam environment. Oftentimes, I've found that, you know, certainly in my case, one was a stepping stone to the other, that you get introduced to public performance and a critical, if you're lucky, a good critical appraisal of your craft, and then that's used as a kind of launching point into being able to do it in a more vigorous and kind of high-powered way, if you like, in a competitive environment in front of a crowd. So I have no reason to believe that they can't exist quite harmoniously and quite necessarily one alongside the other and feeding into one another.
I hate you. I know I do, because you make my face flush. I've got that hate rush and anti-crush. I hate you so much, I want to punch you in the face with my face. You make my heart race. And you say I'm just shy when I try to trip you up on the second floor corridor, 3 o'clock on the dot. I get there early to make sure I don't miss you, and I think you've noticed. I roll my eyes when you take me aside and ask me why I feel this way. I sigh and say, leave me alone, weirdo.
I feel like open mic nights are kind of the entry, the gateway drug for poetry. I think a lot of people come to open mic nights and then kind of move on to doing slams and things like that. And it becomes kind of much more of a, okay, you know, I've had a bit of success at open mic, let's try it to slam. I kind of did it the other way around by accident, because I didn't know that slam meant competition. I thought it just meant poetry event. So I rocked up at the Farrago slam, and then the scoring started, and I was like, what is this? I didn't mean to do this. But I actually really enjoyed it, and, you know, got chatting to people, and kind of from there found out about some open mic nights and went to do that. But I think watching other people, they sort of seem to do it kind of, you know, give it a try at open mic night and then try and do it competitively, I think, from what I've seen.
A lot of people start with poetry slams and then find open mics and feature nights and those sort of things. But everyone has a different journey. I mean, I started with open mics and then I slammed, and that pushed me forward into the rest to do it more intensely. I think poetry slams sit in a place where they're necessary because of the way they exist and the way they validate voices, and they give everyone the same amount of time and all that. I think that's brilliant. But I also think they should never be seen as the end goal or the final lap of poetry. I feel like they're just a little segment of it, and they're not like better or worse than any of the other events, you know. I think that you also see a lot of like the finished product of the work. You see like the polished bit where someone has practiced that in their mirror 20 times or in the shower, if you're me. So you do get to see like the best, especially in finals. You get to see, you're like, okay, this is this person's best work, and they are doing it because they know they're going to be scored. You don't often see like the whole like shaky paper in front of the face thing, because it does feel more performative at a slam rather than open mic. Like, I'll read from my phone at open mic, but I won't read from my phone at a slam, usually.
I want to feel how it is to fall repeatedly, so I'm made aware of my weaknesses constantly, and these aren't negative qualities because they remind me I am still so small and there is so much left to do. So I'll keep climbing towards the roof, and when I reach it, I will climb towards the sky, and when I reach it, I will teach myself how to fly so I can keep going further. So if you hear this and feel some fertile part of you gasping for life, then relocate the seeds of your dreams. Water them with your perspiration, with your motivation, with the stories of your family, your friends, your nation, with your articulation and your art and your patience, because plants don't grow overnight. And we all know that forests take a lifetime, but I still see the beauty in seedlings or in dandelions, which are technically weeds, but they grow fast and allow wishes to be achieved. I suppose that's my dream, to pollinate. Plant seedlings of hope and honesty in every person who I get the chance to meet. Forget handshakes, instead hug tight. We are all so temporary, just flickering like street lights. It's not the end of a poem. This is the beginning of a story.
Poetry slams do a good job of reaching out to audiences who otherwise wouldn't have gone to a live poetry event. I think for features nights would attract an audience who have heard of the poet or who are being dragged along but maybe aren't so keen. And open mics are a really good kind of platform for poets of all kind of levels of ability to get up and try stuff out and share things. But definitely something about human nature and competitiveness go hand in hand. And so poetry slams really kind of reach out to everybody.
I think it's poetry meets bar entertainment, which I think is really, really lovely. And I think it's a really good way of engaging the public, because I feel that a lot of the other events, sort of you find out about them through poet circles. So someone you know will be doing a one-man show, or someone has got a feature here. So I think it's a way of connecting poetry to the outside world almost.
They're right out on the bringing people in, on the, let's go along to a quiz night at a pub. Let's see what, let's all go along and we'll watch a football game. And there's this strange thing happening at a place here, and they call it a slam. Well, okay, can we get a drink there? Yeah, okay, well, let's go. It's that end of bringing people into something that they might not otherwise appreciate.
Slams are like when you walk into Macy's and you kind of overview all the sections because you want to know which department you want to go to. and then once you've looked at them all, then you can decide where you want to shop. So I would say that a slam is a really good way to be introduced to the scene and what kind of poetry you want to pursue and or continue to watch. And I definitely know that there's a crowd in Edinburgh that will only go to slams, which is a shame, but I guess if you really do want the showcase every time, that's fine. But I definitely use slams I use them as a way to find features for my own nights and to definitely recommend poets to other nights and tell them where they can perform and continue to grow, especially if they're good, because I really want to foster that creativity in my own city. So yeah, I think slams are kind of a shopping experience.
Pull yourself together, lad, like a pair of fusty lemon curtains. No one wants to see that. Batten down your hatches, lad, lest anyone see inside. Lest the sugared wound of you bleed freely. Lest your seeds be sown too deeply. Lest you cannot fold neatly, lad. No one wants to see that. Pull yourself together, lad. What a horrid view. Get your head above the water. Don't let me see you kick. Don't let me see you flinch. Don't let me see you soft. Lad, the wheels on the bus have come off. Lad, the bus is an Uber. Late night bike ride, no lights. Lad, orchestral manoeuvre in the dark. In the dark. What did the doctor say to the man who felt like a pair of curtains?
Put yourself together.
Nothing. The doctor was A, rightly striking. B, woefully ill-equipped to deal with problems of the male psyche. C, not there on Saturdays. So the man left, right away, up the down escalator in a Kafkaesque mockery of himself. It's not funny, said the woman on reception. It's still a woman on reception. It's not a joke, said the man, realising now that even his most routine appointments had become metaphors. He does a little tired laugh, just one. It's what he would have done in the film of this moment. Steps out into the paving slab day, which greeted him like a former high school teacher in a petrol station forecourt. Stiff Tupperware words, frosted glass, a Venetian blind, pulling himself together so we don't have to, keeping his hair on so we don't have to, getting a hold of himself so we don't have to. Doctor, doctor, said the man. I feel like a pair of curtains, the doctor offered. Knock, knock, said the man. Who's there? The doctor offered. Thanks very much.